Alrighty, good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. I have to take a little bit of a different view here. Had to lower my camera down to not have it up in the window because it's a hot day and it cooks my phone and it ends up cutting out on the live stream. So we got a little bit of a different angle. You bring you down here a little bit, put you on the armrest. Talking about the housing market today and how the recovery will take years. It'll take years to recover from what we are facing today. Now, a lot of people will think about the housing market crash being a crash in prices. Like they are anticipating a housing market crash will be prices coming down to a more reasonable expectation that the average everyday worker will be able to afford a home. Like that's kind of the narrative that is being spoken out there when people talk about a housing market crash, but that is not the crash. The crash is happening in transactions. The lack of transactions is the cause, or at least the problems, the collapse within the market. It's the transactions. That's the problem. Now, as time goes on and people are anticipating, hey, look at the problems that we are now facing, this is going to cause the prices to come down. And a lot of people are looking at inventory. And they say, look, we're at the highest inventory since the great financial crisis. And that is not accurate, right? We're at the highest level in like 5 years since like COVID, right? Pre-COVID. That's when we were at the same inventory level. The highest we've been since the great financial crisis is in new constructed homes. Unsold new construction homes are at the highest level since the great financial crisis. Like I think there's 126,000 unsold brand new homes, and there was 119,000 of them during the great financial crisis. So people are looking at this and going, look at this huge pile of inventory that is piled up there. And I'm thinking, well, in new constructed homes, yes, you're absolutely right. But existing home sales, right, or the amount of existing homes out there for sale is not that high, considering what it was back during the great financial crisis. So as people are looking back saying, oh man, this is worse than the great financial crisis, well, in a lot of ways, if you're looking at the underlying like conditions that the people are facing, like debt saturation, inability to acquire loans, all these other factors that are happening out there, then yeah, you could say that. But ultimately right now, the problem that we're now facing isn't even remotely close to that of what we were facing during the great financial crisis. See, the great financial crisis had a huge overbuild, right? Kind of similar to what we're experiencing today, right? The newly constructed homes, right? Coming onto market, like people are looking at, focused on, like, look at the problem. This is a huge problem. This is going to cause the market to crash. But yet the existing home sales, the ones that people are going to flip over for another house, or like basically sell this house so you can buy another house, that's dropped dramatically. Transactions have failed. They're not flipping these houses around, not like they used to. Right? And so to understand that these newly constructed homes would most likely have been purchased if an individual could sell their home with confidence. They can't sell their home with confidence, so they don't. They don't lower the prices. They don't give anything. They might, if they're desperate to sell, they'll lower prices. But for the most part, people can't lower the prices because then they would not be able to go and buy another home. So they just sit back. They just say, they can't do it. So now we have to think about this. What is going to allow for new transactions to start occurring? Whether it's in new constructed or inside of the existing home sales. What is it that's going to create an environment in which that those transactions can then be brought to fruition, right? Because that's what we need to do, right? That's what the recovery in the housing market would look like, is a bunch of transactions starting to take place. Now we look at it and we think, okay, well, the average everyday person can't really afford anything that's happening out there. So even if you were to lower interest rates, you're only going to make it a little bit better for them. Not for everybody, just for a handful of people, the people who can get that first access to that money. So although it may create a bit of a better environment for some people out there, the majority of the people will not be able to take advantage of that. It won't be any better for them. Right? Ultimately, what has to happen is either wages have to go up or the prices on the houses have to go down, or a combination between the two. Now, as these two start to take place, lowering prices and higher wages. If this was to continue into the future, well, then the environment would be easier and easier and easier to do transactions. Has there ever been a moment in history that ever occurred? Just asking. Like, I don't think that's going to take place. Ever increasing amounts of wage increases and ever lower house prices? Does that sound reasonable? I mean, I know for the average everyday person, it sounds like, hey, that's great for me. How are you going to find that environment? Does that environment even exist? Or is it just complete delusion? Right? Wishful, hopeful thinking, dreaming. Right? That's what it is. There's no reality to that. See, the reality is that the affordability of a home comes from supply and demand issues. There's plenty of demand, right? Not saying that the demand can afford it, but there is all kinds of people out there who wish and hope and dream to be in a house. There's plenty of demand, right? The capability isn't there. So the demand, very high. Supply, not so much. So if you have high demand and not so much supply, what are prices going to do? Right? It's supply-demand issues. That's not that hard. Okay? You have a bunch of supply that people can't afford, but you got a bunch of supply that people cannot sell for any less. That's a stalemate. What are we going to do going into the future? What could possibly take place going into the future, going from here? Like, I just think about it. It was just like right now, home builders are having a hell of a time. Like, Lennar is trying to do whatever they can. They're a major nationwide home builder, desperate to start moving inventory. They got the biggest pile of inventory they've ever had. Like, if you're a builder and you build homes for a living and you cannot sell a brand new home, tell me, how eager are you going to be to start filling up inventory, start creating more supply? Probably not very likely to do that, right? You're going to be very cautious and very standoffish and like, nah, until these things start moving, I'm not going to really start new projects. That's a problem. That's going to be a major problem going into the future, because you got a whole lot of pent-up demand and not a lot of supply. And so if you're trying to figure out how it is that you're going to fix this housing situation, it comes down to adding more supply. But here we have a home builder saying, I can't really supply you with any more homes if you don't buy the homes I already got. How is this going to work? It's going to take time. It's going to take time with home builders, right, trying to figure out how it is that they can supply more inventory to the homes, and at the same time, the average everyday worker is going to have to figure out how it is that they cut back on their expenses in order to afford these homes. How long do you think that's going to take before those two finally meet? Does this seem likely to recover in the next few months? Like, let me ask you this. Everybody's looking at the Federal Reserve saying, oh man, if they lowered interest rates, we could have all these affordable homes and all these people would be able to go out there and buy a home. Does that sound right to you? Is there a time, right, where lowering interest rates actually made the house more affordable for the people out there? I mean, there was that short little moment before the great financial crisis where they would essentially just give loans to anybody regardless if they had a job or not. That's a little dangerous of a situation. Created a lot of purchases that didn't really have any kind of business being in the market. That's not what's going on here, right? Like, I mean, people were looking back to the great financial crisis and saying, oh man, look at all these similarities that are happening back there. And I'm thinking, well, there was a huge, huge buildup taking place right as the great financial crisis was happening. Like, there was ever increasing amounts of people who were starting homes. When the great financial crisis kicked in, there was so many unfinished homes out there. There was so many unfinished homes out there, they were literally bulldozing them down. Does that seem to be taking place right now? Like, there was a huge overbuild that had happened, considering that the sales aren't taking place today and the inventory is piling up. But when we think about what was happening in the great financial crisis, when that hit, there was tons and tons and tons of projects in the works. That isn't what's going on here, right? There might be a ton of projects that have been completed, but they're slowing down. They're not ramping that up. That was the difference. The great financial crisis, they were ramping up, right? Ever increasing amounts of new starts, permit issuance, you know, housing developments, all kinds of stuff, swelling, and pop, And then everybody was just like, oh, I can't finish this project. Nobody wants to buy the remainder of this project. What is the bank going to do? Bulldoze it down. Right? They were literally bulldozing houses down back then. Not even the same thing that's happening today. I look to the idea of people just simply being able to afford a home. Well, there is a bit of wage growth that is happening right now as the housing market seems to be stalling as far as prices. Well, this gives the ability, like the wages kind of ticking up. So as people's wages start to kick up and more available people start to show up to buy those houses, where's the inventory going to go? Is it going to go up or down? Most likely it's going to go down, isn't it? So if you're not starting new homes because Lennar's already trying to figure out what to do with all this inventory and they're waiting for the capabilities of the buyer to show up, and when the buyer does show up, how much inventory is out there for them to buy? And then what ends up happening when those inventory starts to deplete? See where I'm getting at here? We have to focus in on those home builders. Those home builders are the key to this. If they are not in a position in which that starting new homes is going to be a profitable venture for them, then they're not going to do it. We're going to have problems going into the future. It's going to continue. It's probably going to get worse. No matter what they do. They can lower interest rates, raise interest rates, do whatever they want. If you do not have new constructed homes coming to the market in a profound way, there's no way that it's going to bring prices down. And this is the unfortunate situation that we now face. Everybody says, oh man, the government should just do something by manipulating the interest rates. And I'm thinking, is that really going to provide enough homes for all the demand of people out there who want to live in a home? I mean, there's all kinds of people out there talking about, well, if all these rich people didn't have multiple homes, then there would be plenty of homes for everybody to have. And I very seriously doubt that. And there's no way in the world that you could live in a free society, free-ish society, and then start limiting what it is that you can buy for assets. Right? I mean, if you want the ability to be able to become independent, separated, comfortable, free, you have to be able to have access to assets at your will. If you have the ability to get it, you should be able to get it. And if you can't do it, tell me, how is it that you're going to be able to prosper in this nation? You're not. It's like literally stopping you from succeeding yourself by preventing other people from being able to acquire those properties. See, this is the unfortunate paradox that we now live in. Do you want to live in a free society in which that the opportunity to become independently wealthy and have all the expectations of a good quality of life and then deny other people that at the same time? Like, how do you expect it for yourself and then deny other people? It's just like, man, I worked incredibly hard, and then after I get to this point, sorry, that's it. No more benefit for you for working incredibly hard. See, I had a friend say, to me at one time, and she watches this channel, and believe me, I love you, girl. I really do. But the idea that you can only earn so much money, right? And then after that, you're going to be taxed like an incredible amount. Like, let's just make up a number. You can earn $100 million a year, right? That's a lot, way more than anybody should ever really have to have, right? But let's just pull a number out of there. $100 million a year. After that, you're going to be taxed 70%. If I can make $100 million a year and I was able to do it in, say, 6 months, and then I was told for the rest of the year, all your efforts, you're only going to make 30 cents on the dollar for, I would be like, hey, that was a lot of fun. Great 6 months. I'm going to have to lay everybody off. We'll see you all next year, right? When I can earn another $100 million and then not get taxed everything away from me for doing any more effort. I mean, that's literally the way I feel, because I don't want to have to work for nothing. I mean, I don't care how much money I make. I mean, I don't want to put my efforts out for nothing. That doesn't make any sense to me. Okay? And so if I'm being told that, it was just like, no, you can earn $100 million, but then you can't earn any more than that, then that's all I will ever earn. Guaranteed. That's as much as I will do. I'll be like, hey, I'm going fishing for the rest of the year. See ya. Right? And then I'll bail out. Because that's the way that I'm going to operate going into the future, is that I'm not going to trade my time for no dollars. It's just not going to work that way. Man. And so understanding that even if it's a profound amount, an insane amount of money, right? The motivation behind it is you want to be rewarded for your efforts. And if somebody else has the opinion, it's just like, well, you've already been awarded enough. How do you know that? Like, I don't know if I've been awarded enough. Man, I don't feel like I've been awarded enough. Maybe to somebody else I have. Well, that's a matter of opinion. Okay? What if I wanted to take my extra hundreds of millions of dollars beyond the $100 million I already made, and I want to do nothing but awesome goodness with it? Would you deny me the ability to earn that money if I just turned around and donated every bit of it through my own efforts and just spread it out there, making good for everybody? Would you have a problem with me then? Probably not, right? But if I earned over $100 million and then kept it for myself, now there's a problem with it. It's all a matter of opinion. So now I think about it again. We have to go back to us as an individual person. What was it that we're going to do? What is it that you need to do in order to acquire that of what it is that you believe is the American dream? What is it you need to do? I mean, you can't expect government to do something, right? The banking system certainly can't help. So who's left? I mean, you can scream at the top of your lungs, hey, we need to vote for this person. Why? Is he going to come up and all of a sudden create this environment that is going to be so awesome for you? You think about it. Like, is there ever been a time in which that any political promise that came from any administration actually came to fruition that made a better society for anybody? No. You know why? It's because we have a central banking system with fiat currency. And if you continue on with this central banking system, there will be ever injections of new money and debt issuance, which will separate the rich from the poor. Now, if you don't like people being rich, then you're going to have to leave the country. That's all there is to it. You're going to have to find some other nation that doesn't work that way, and I don't know where it is that you're going to go. It's just not going to happen that way. We can understand that there's not enough, right? The job is not enough. The wages are not enough. The taxes are too much. The prices are too high. Too much. We can say it over and over again, and we can look for the evidence of it. We can talk about it and blame people and do all kinds of stuff to try and alleviate the problems from it. It won't work. No matter what you do. It's because we have ever increasing amounts of fiat currency and debt issuance. It's going to continue to cause the problems that we see, no matter what you do to the symptoms. The only thing that you can do is recognize it for what it is. Man, I'm not going to be able to earn enough at this day job. Not enough to buy the house, to have the car, to do all the other stuff. This day job isn't going to be enough to do it. Luckily, we live in a time in which that there are so many different ways to make money. And that's really what it comes down to, is to understand that your day job is enough to survive, but you're never going to thrive. And in order to thrive, you're going to have to put out an incredible amount of effort. And a lot of people say, man, I don't want to put out that much effort. It's so tiring to work all day and then go and work all night on top of it. And I get it. What are you going to do, man? Are you going to sit there and crumble? You're going to turn into dust and blow away? Or are you going to sit there and just wonder why it is that it's so hard out there? See, I think about it, it was just like, man, none of those stuff is an option. The only option I have is to figure out what it is that I need to do in order to get as much income as I can get and keep my expenses low, because that's the only path to success. Earn more, require less. So simple. And now I know a lot of people out there going, man, no, I earn a lot, I earn money, I do all these other stuff, and it's still so very difficult out there. I put all this time and effort and energy into it, and all I want is a decent life with a decent truck and a decent clothing and a decent watch and a decent vacation and and you see where I'm getting at? They elevate their life up. They got this money. They got a higher standard of living. I look around. I see people who drive way nicer vehicles than I do. And I think to myself, man, why is it that I drive some of the ugliest cars in Astoria? Is it that I simply can't afford it? And it was like, no, that's not the ticket. I have the ability to afford just about any vehicle I want. What I am on is a path to success. I'm on a path to independence. I'm on a path to being able to be secure and free. That doesn't necessarily have a car in the picture, right? Like, I mean, I have a vehicle. I got this old Suburban, runs great, plenty of room, horrible gas mileage, don't care, right? I'm making it down the road. That's the point of that. Now, if I was to go and put my money into a car, what would I be buying for assets? Like a car is a depreciating asset. You can call it an asset all you want, but it's going to depreciate over time. There's no way that you can say that, man, this was a good idea. Like I mean, maybe for some reliability, security, safety issues, right? You give up your freedom for security. Yeah, all right, fine. It's going to cost you. That's what ends up happening from it. So knowing that it's not necessarily anything else out there but your own decision making on where it is that you try to put your money. Are you trying to put it into that new vehicle? Are you trying to put it into dividend paying stocks? Where's your like priority inside of that? People say, oh man, but the car is the car, and then they come up with self-justification and excuses on why it is that they own this car. And I'm thinking, all right, well, see you guys later. You know, I mean, I'm going to go head over to the other side of the wedge because that's the direction I'm wanting to go. And I know buying a new car doesn't drive me to the other side of the wedge. It'll drive me to the bottom side. Knowing that there is so many ways to make money and so many places out there that you can cut back on your expenses. This is the mindset is needed by the working class individual in order to deal with the situation we are now in. That's it. Simple as that. People ask me all the time, what is it that we need to do? I say, I don't know. I don't know what you need in your life. I don't know what you have done to position yourself. I don't know what your skill sets are. I don't have any idea what your goals are. But I do know as a working class individual, when I look around and I see other people who are sitting in the position that I am at, and I think to myself, man, there is no way that this day job is going to be enough. And I look out there and I say, man, who's actually doing better? And it's the people who are side hustling, the people who have things going on beyond that of their day job. And I think that's the only way. Because now your day job has to compete against people like that. People who have side hustles, side businesses, side ideas of what it is that they could do to try and bring in extra money beyond the money they already make, right? Figuring that part out is absolutely key to the working class individual figuring out what it is that they need to do. Like, you can study politics all day long. Study it all day long. Know everybody. Know all the bills. Know all the ideas. Like all the talking points. Have it all memorized. Know every single congressman, every single senator, right? Know them all. It will not benefit you one little bit. Not one bit, because it completely distracts you from what it is that you need to be doing. See, when you watch these politics, you're hoping and wishing and dreaming that there's going to be a better environment to the future that you can then participate in. Like, please create a better environment for me to participate in. I beg you. Let me vote for you. Let me scream at other people to vote for you. So that way you can do something for me. Make a better environment for me. And I'm thinking to myself, I hear this a lot. Now, people don't say it in so many words, but that's ultimately what they're saying, right? They're saying, hey, make a better environment for me. You guys, you voted for the wrong person. Now you have to deal with this environment with me. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, there are people who are killing it right now, right? They don't have to have the environment change at all. Like, they don't need anybody out there to do anything different than what they are doing, because what they are doing is their own decision making when it comes to what's going on out here. They don't care what other people are doing. They say, hey, do whatever you need to do. I will recognize what it is that you are doing out there. I'll recognize my position, and I will make judgments accordingly. Those people are very successful. They're the only ones that I know are successful. Everybody else who's saying, oh, here's the reasons why we cannot be successful, are the ones who are not successful, because they look for the reasons for it. Instead of looking, like literally spending, like you spent 5 minutes looking for the excuses, or you spent 5 minutes looking into business. Which one is going to be better for you? All right? Even if you didn't start the business, which one mentally is going to be better for you? The one that says, hey man, where is it that I can put money to acquire more money? Where is it that I can put my skill efforts to acquire more? What is it that's going on that's denying me? Which one are you going to go to? Which one of those thought patterns? Which YouTube video are you going to watch that's going to say, hey man, this is the ideas that you need to take in and think about on a regular basis in order to save you. Here's all your problems. Now you got another YouTube video out there of a guy saying, hey, let me tell you about buying rental properties. Let me tell you what it is that you need to do in order to get the right financing. Let me tell you about the networks that you need to build up in order to acquire the things in your life. Here's the opportunities for you. Which one of those paths is going to lead you into a better outcome? Just Think about it, right? The one that's telling you all your problems, or the ones that telling you all your options? I think about what it is that people are facing out there. We are going to go into some serious hell, because most people are hoping and wishing and dreaming for something better to come, right? Instead of thinking, man, what is it that I need to do in order to have a better life going into the future? Considering the situation will not change. It will not change to benefit me. It will not change to be a better place. Nothing about it will change that's going to say, yes, this is awesome. Everything that you are doing and everything that you have conducted yourself with is absolutely perfect. You do not need to change anything about what you're doing. That day will never come. All right, $5 super chat. Let's go check that thing out here real quick before I forget. Wow, this is way back there. Sorry about that. Pete, what is it? Pete the Sasquatch? Squatchy? Pete the Squatchy? What is that? I love the name, man. All right, $5. Hey, Simon, got Cantillon a couple of days ago. Through your link, now we got a read. And back in the great financial crisis, they were taking apart new homes, at least in Vegas. Yeah, and that's true. That's not the only place that they were doing. I mean, I know Vegas was a big, it was a big focal point. People were really focused in on Vegas, but that wasn't the only place. There was places all over the nation that were. See, the problem is that here you have this loan, you've got this project, the project is not completed, and you can't sell the loan. Like, nobody wants to buy the debt on it. Nobody wants to buy the project. Nobody wants to continue on with this thing. And the bank is going, so long as this thing exists, we are losing money, right? So just destroy the whole thing, write it all off, call it a loss, right? That way it's no longer on the books anymore. And it's sad. Like, I mean, I essentially did something similar with my car just recently. Like, my wife's car blew the transmission. I owed $3,000 on it. And I'm thinking, man, I just need to pay it off and then throw it away. There's nothing I can do with this vehicle. Now, I still have it, and I'm still trying to figure out some options as far as dealing with this vehicle. But at the most part, it's just nothing but a money pit that'll never be worth anything more than, I mean, I can never put the money back into it to get it back out, right? So I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't even want the vehicle. I paid it off and just willing to, like, essentially at this point, I'm willing to throw it away. All righty, back down to the bottom. I just paid $4K on a car repair after tree branch fell on my car. See, that's what's crazy. Like, I haven't paid $4,000. I paid $3,000 for this truck, and I paid about $1,000 for the Ford Explorer. I had to, for the mechanic, like, because basically the Ford Explorer was given to me, but I had to put about $1,000 into it. And then it was probably about 4 years ago, going on almost 4 years, 3.5 years since I bought the S10 for $1,200. So I'm like $5,200 into 3 vehicles. Right? Driving 3 vehicles for $5,200 over the last 4 years. Actually, a little bit, about 4 years. Okay? And so when I think about that, like, this guy did, like, I mean, $4,000 on a repair on one vehicle, for a little bit more, I was able to drive 3 different vehicles. I mean, if the tree branch landed on one of them, I could get rid of it and drive a different vehicle and still be cheaper than repairing one. People, I mean, to me, like, I look around, cars are disposable. They're a disposable item. Think about it, $100 a month. A $1,200 vehicle should last you about a year. Right? You get about $100 a month out of it. The Suburban, I'm expecting about 3 years, right? If I could drive it around for 3 years, I got my money out of it. There is very, very, very few opportunities out there to drive around, to travel for $100 a month, right? I mean, then insurance and gas and all that other stuff, but ultimately it cost me about $100 a month to drive vehicles. That's pretty dang low. That's really low. That gives me a lot of room to then deploy that money into dividend paying stocks, into the house real estate kind of idea, into cryptos, into the stock market, into gold and silver, into cash deposits. This is my mindset. I don't say, hey man, I'm going to cut back on my vehicle expense so I could go out there and buy a jet ski. Although I'd love to have a jet ski. It's summertime right now, and I was watching some guys ripping it up out there on the river, and I thought to myself, man, that would be bad to have some big old jet skis to rip it out there on the Columbia. All right, we just sold a nice brick home. Okay, 14,000 square foot for 115. Wow. Do you think housing will ever get cheap? Cheap in what sense? Like prices coming down or wages going up? Because which one are you looking for? Houses will never be cheap for the average everyday working class individual. That is only if you're a production nation, production saving nation, then you will have the opportunity for houses to be cheap. It won't be like a number cheap, it will be a capability cheap. Your average everyday working class individual will be able to buy a house. That will never be back. That won't come. That's a day of long ago, and going into the future, that option is not part of it. And it's because of the separation that's happened. Like when we were a manufacturing powerhouse, when the United States was rising, right? This was giving people like the ability to take in manufacturing jobs for the first time. And when people were first making that money, they're like all sitting around, like them and their buddies are like, dude, we could buy houses, we could go buy cars, you know, we could raise families. Look at all this. Like we're all manufacturing, we're selling these manufactured goods out there to the world. We're all getting money. This is an awesome deal. And everybody's like, yeah, let's do this, man. And we just started the Industrial Revolution, just pumping out products. Loved it, man. War effort, all the kinds of stuff, man. It just kind of dropped everything into our laps, right? Here we are being producers, savers, just kicking it. We raised our standard of living. Once you raise that standard of living, man, it's going to be a real difficult road from here on, because nothing is more pleasurable than increasing your standard of living, and nothing is more painful than to lower it. And this is the ultimate sacrifice that we now have to do, is to say, man, we can't have a higher standard of living. We can't do that. If we do that, we're going to punish our children. We're going to punish the future. How many people actually think that way? None. There is no way that it's going to go any other direction. It is going to get harder, more difficult, more separation, all that other stuff. And now when I say it's going to be harder for the individual who is anticipating, expecting a better way, a better condition. If they do not figure that out for themselves, it will never come. All right, wealth concentrates to more frugal, smart investors. Inequality will be like nothing before, just like the Gilded Age of the 1890s. Is a recession coming? That's kind of an interesting question. I don't think the recession is going to be like what a lot of other people anticipated. Like I believe that we have already experienced what I had called the recessionless recession, right? Think about this for just a minute. What is the worst part of a recession? Right? The worst part of a recession is that everybody loses their job and corporations get bailed out, right? That's the worst part of a recession. Like if those two things didn't happen, people probably wouldn't even care, right? They wouldn't even notice anything. But losing your job is very painful. And then when you see corporations getting bailed out, thinking, man, how come I don't get that, right? How come these people who are already rich get the money, right? Well, they're systemically important, right? Like, you know, if they fail, well, it'll take the whole system down. So too big to fail. So sorry, I got too big. Here's a bunch more money, right? And that's painful experience for the average everyday person to experience. I mean, they hate that. So what if there was an occurrence in which that we had a dramatic slowdown, but people didn't really lose their job? Labor market stayed tight. Kind of like the conditions we went through. Well, what happens if corporations start to fail, but they don't get bailed out? Kind of like what we just experienced. Now, something had led us into that. And that's what gave me the idea for the recessionless recession, is that before all this occurred, there was bailouts happening within the economy. See, corporations were able to gorge on incredibly cheap debt during COVID. Massive corporations issuing out massive amounts of debt and gorging on it as yields fell. Like, they were borrowing money like crazy. All these corporations, go back and look at it. It was unreal. And the Federal Reserve had actually set up a special purpose vehicle to buy into corporate debt, to say, hey, we're saving the fallen angels. They did quantitative easing, lowered interest rates, put out the idea that they were going to be buying into corporate debt, funded a special purpose vehicle, which is an entity separated from the Fed and the Treasury, right? This was unusual and exigent circumstances that gave them the ability to do it. It was Fed 13.3 or something like that. I can't remember the exact name of it. Ultimately, they produced this corporate debt lending facility, put the word out there that they were going to be buying corporate debt, and the market just went out and front run like crazy and bought into corporate debt like you wouldn't believe. Corporations were funded like massively. So here it is, COVID, all these corporations were able to sell debt incredibly cheap, load up on cash. Well, if you're loaded up on cash, what are you going to do? You're going to expand operations, buy equipment, buy new buildings, hire people, right? Hiring frenzy went nuts. Remember, there was like nobody was there to work. All the working class individuals quit their service job and went to work for some zombie corporation as a CEO with no skill sets whatsoever. Like, people were amazed by the position that they were able to get because of all this hiring that was taking place with all this new money that had just poured into the system. So now all these people are hired, unemployment falls to rock bottom. So now here you are in a situation, right? Corporations got massive amounts of funding, right? Gorging on incredibly cheap debt, hired a bunch of people, unemployment fell, and now we go into a situation in which we start to slow down. Corporations start popping up, going bankrupt, boom, 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 and it was just like, hey, you're zombie corporations, you needed to fail anyway, see ya, right? So zombie corporations start to fail, and all these people are like, oh man, I'm losing my job, what do I do? And it was like, there's plenty of service jobs. Go flip burgers, go serve beers. Unemployment can't rise very high if there's a job to go to. It may not be a good job, but it's a job. And if you have a job, you're not unemployed. Unemployment doesn't rise significantly. So here we had the recession in the works, ready to go. But the corporations were bailed out, and people who lost their job from that zombie corporation who was failing ended up going to work at the service industry, and unemployment didn't rise significantly. There it was, right? The recessionless recession. It totally played out exactly the way I thought it was going to. And now here we are in a situation in which that people are anticipating that there is going to be another recession, and I'm thinking, no, we just went through that. The bailout is about ready to come. All right? That's what's coming next. So recession? Maybe. I mean, we might see the resemblance of a recession, but the painful experience that most people would anticipate with higher unemployment and bailout of corporations, I don't think that's going to exist in the same fashion. All right, what time is it? I got to go. Oh, gosh, I got a few more minutes here. Okay. City Star Production 6703. Thank you so much for the $4.99. Is our broad economy going through liquidity crisis? If so, how has the Fed planned solutions for it? I think the liquidity crisis would be in the bottom 80%. All right, they have harder time acquiring the dollars they need to pay their debts. They're debt saturated. They're increasing their debts, credit card debt, car loan debt, interest on student loan debts, whatever. It's just increasing more and more and more and more. And the access to getting higher wages, the wages are creeping up, but they're not keeping up in a pace that is going to alleviate the debt saturation. All right. So as this starts to grow, this problem, this is for the bottom 80% of the people, for most of them at the bottom, this is what they are experiencing. All right. That is, hold on. All right. Sorry, guys. Okay. So that bottom 80%, that is going to be a very difficult road going down, considering that they need to get ever increasing amounts of new money. All right, ever increasing amounts of new money would then give them the position to be making the right decision, right? Being put into a decision to make the right decision. And by giving them an opportunity to have access to new money, they won't do it. Like, that's the problem. They won't do it. They will take that new money and they will not do the right thing with it. They will force themselves into a more debt, bad times, blast it on something, but they won't do good with it, right? And what I mean by good is paying off the debt or buying into some sort of cash flowing assets or assets in general. So the liquidity crisis is definitely going to be happening for the bottom 80%. But now who has access to the money? The top 20, right? People who are closest to the money, they get to take advantage of it. So it's not a liquidity crisis to them, right? They're increasing their spending. They're increasing their consumption. They're increasing their wealth. Like there's no liquidity crisis happening up there, but there is one down here at the bottom. So now I think about what it is that the Federal Reserve is focused in on. Well, they have two things, right? They have a dual mandate. Low inflation with stable prices, again, whatever that means, and full employment. That's their mandate. Now, part of that, in maintaining that mandate, is understanding the increase and decrease in demand from like the aggregate demand within the economy, right? If you have aggregate demand increasing, most likely you're probably going to have unemployment falling, or unemployment has fallen and increased the aggregate demand. Now, here's the problem. If you lower unemployment dramatically, historically low unemployment from the Obama administration through the Trump administration, right? Historically low unemployment, but aggregate demand does not increase that much. Now what? See, you can go ahead and try and lower interest rates to increase the aggregate demand down there at the bottom 80%, but it really doesn't do it. Like, there's no evidence of it actually working. There was a time prior to the great financial crisis it probably worked, but now it doesn't really seem to work. Lowering interest rates doesn't increase the aggregate demand down there at the bottom 80%, but the top 20%, oh, whoa, man, it's like a rocket ship for them. So this is the unfortunate circumstances we are now living in from having this continuous central banking system pouring new money in. Okay. It's what's the inequality driver. Inequality comes from new money. People who have first access to that new money get to spend it at face value. Everybody else suffers the consequence from it. It's the Cantillon effect, and it is in full swing. And there's like, I don't see anything that could possibly happen that's going to change this, considering the people who are in charge. Like, they would literally have to punish themselves in order to fix the problem. They're not going to do that. They are not going to do it. All right. I mean, would you say, oh man, I've earned $150,000 this year, I really should be earning 110. I'm going to do something about that. This $40,000 extra, I shouldn't really be going for that. Like, does that sound right? Does that sound reasonable to anybody out there? Of course not, right? So don't expect the rich people to do that either. Yeah. All these people saying, well, the rich should help out the poor. And I'm thinking, how many people out there who are paying their bills are going out there and spending their days trying to figure out how to get the homeless into a better position? None. Nobody is. Nobody's doing that. I mean, maybe you might find a couple of people out there who feel it in their heart to go out there and try and help. But for the most part, people are just focused in on themselves, worried about themselves, trying to figure out how it is that they position themselves. That's what everybody is doing. I don't care how much money you got, right? If you're poor as hell, you're going to think, man, how come these rich people don't do it? Right? How come they don't help me? And if you're rich, you're looking down saying, hey, man, how come you don't help yourself? Right? There's no fixing that. There's no fixing it. All right. Simon is educated, many poor-minded folks. Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, I had to come to the understanding that the decisions that I was making led me right to where I was at. Every single bit of it. I mean, I'm 40 years old, I'm drunk, I'm a huge conspiracy theorist, I have nothing going on in my life, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell am I going to do? I got kids, I got a wife, I got things going on, and I'm about ready to fail. Completely. I'm like, man, this ain't working for me. This whole conspiracy-minded, blaming other people, being so political, all this other stuff has failed me miserably. I am in a horrible position now. Those people were not there to help me. They didn't show up. Not one single person who taught me all about the conspiracy theories showed up to help me when I was at my worst. Not a single one of them. You know that? When I changed my mindset, I said, that's it. I'm giving up the alcohol and I'm giving up on the conspiracy theories. In fact, I'm giving up on everything. And when I go back and I start following the money, I'm just going to stick to that. Follow the money. When I started following the money, when I started paying attention to what it is that I was doing for myself, what I was doing with my experiences, with my income, with my positioning, when I started really focusing in and paying attention to that, started the YouTube channel, started building up a network, I started finding that rich people were showing up to help. Did you know that? Not one single conspiracy theorist ever showed up to help, but I got countless amounts of rich people who are showing up saying, dude, what can we do to help? That's weird. I mean, when I was broke as hell and poor and desperate for help and wondering why it is that I was doing so horribly and blaming other people out there and blaming the politics and blaming conspiracy theories, I was failing miserably. Nobody showed up. The day I said, that's it, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to start figuring this stuff out. I'm going to start working hard. I'm going to start paying off my debts. I'm going to figure out what it is that I need to do. And people started showing up. Huh. Okay. Well, I think I kind of get this now. Actually, most people are there trying to figure out why corporations are paying tax rate lesser than people working every day. Don't worry about it. That's like, what are you going to do? Nothing. There's nothing you can do. Those corporations are not going to pay crap in taxes. You're going to pay it all. Figure it out. Don't worry about that part. Figure out how it is that you cut back on your expenses and increase your income, because worrying about how much a corporate tax is not going to benefit you none. You might as well just be in line with the conspiracy theorist. Right? I'm not saying it's not something that you shouldn't think about ever, right? Understanding it is not a bad thing, right? But focusing all your time and effort and energy on that is not going to lead you down a path of success. I mean, I can't give you any examples of how that helped me. There was a time that I was incredibly focused on that kind of thing, and I was in the gutter, and I couldn't figure out how to get out. Yeah. What time is it? I got to get going here, guys. This was awesome. I would love to stick out here a little longer. We got 425 people watching. This is a great live stream. 87 people who have hit that like button. Hit that like button right now. 425 people. Get it up to a couple of hundred likes. The YouTube algorithm will grab the video, spread it around for more people to join in. We can continue on with this conversation. Thank you very much for the $9.99 in super chats. I really appreciate all the support. I've had quite a few people now who have contacted me, thanking me, and actually sending me PayPal donations and stuff like that. For the appreciativeness of what it is that, you know, we're all doing out here, trying to figure out this system, the economy, what it is that we need to do. It's very complicated, right? And as we talk about it, as we have the conversation, as we discuss it further, we are figuring out what it is that we need to do with our position. And this is really what it's all about. I can never thank you guys enough, right? And I do it every single time, and I know it, but I just want you to know how much I really appreciate everything that you have ever done for me, right? People say thank you for coming out and sharing the story. I understand that the conversation and everything that we've done have helped a lot of people, but I know there is no way in the world that it's helped anybody as much as it's helped me, right? It's definitely helped me the most, not only with my own education and understanding what is going on, but it's been incredibly helpful in just changing everything that I got going on in my life. And again, like, for my family's sake, I can never thank you enough. Uneducated Economist, you guys are awesome. You let me know. Oh, hold on. There's a super chat that came in. Oh my gosh. Bro. Okay, I'll give it just another second here, man. Joshua, thank you so much for the $100, man. I just got a $100 super chat from Joshua. It says, good luck, man. Thank you, man. Again, it's just incredible, you know. I never thought I would have something in my life like this, and I never thought that I would be able to share anything with anybody. You know, this is an incredible thing. Thank you, Josh. Thank you so much, everybody. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.